wanna know what you, yeah, I wanna know what you want. My niggas gon' blow at you, yeah, my niggas gon' blow at you down.
What is going on, B+ gang? How you doing? How you been? You're looking pretty handsome, as usual, as expected, as you should. Now, of course, I want to talk about this Kendrick and Drake beef. Last time we came together to speak on this topic, we talked about J. Cole's apology. Now, if you want my extended thoughts on that, the video will be here on screen. But on today's video, we're definitely going to be diving into this whole Drake and Kendrick thing. So grab a bev, grab a friend, and have a seat. I think we all probably need to take a breather after what we just witnessed go down. This was probably one of the most important moments in recent hip-hop history, where we have two behemoths, two kaijus just fighting over New York City and just everything up. Like, Jesus Christ, B+ gang, somebody raise the DEFCON levels, please. Throw up the bat symbol, whatever you gotta do. But I think enough time has passed that hopefully some of that smoke has cleared. There's not like 300 reaction videos coming out at one time. And hopefully for the time being, these motherfuckers are done dropping diss tracks, because I'm kind of over it at this point. So for a little recap for you people that are totally uninitiated and don't have a single clue what is going on here, don't worry, I got you. So this whole thing kind of started off with Metro Boomin and Future's collab album, where they had a song called Like That featuring Kendrick Lamar. And on Like That, Kendrick was kind of responding to what he felt was some blasphemous claims at the top spot in the hip-hop game, and he took shots directly at Drake and J. Cole. You know, slight tangent, but revisiting this album, everybody kind of did get a shot in on Drake here. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it on my last video, but like, how the f did Drake piss off all these people? How do you piss off The Weeknd? Like, he seems like the nicest guy ever. I know it might seem a little inconsequential now, seeing how this whole thing kind of turned out. It's crazy that this was kind of the impetus for, you know, even Drake to say something. And this gave Drake a lot of good optics throughout the whole battle, because it was perceived as though he was fighting more than one opponent, although it did just become him and Kendrick at some point. I consider this kind of like the B plot to this whole beef. Something about some dudes beefing about girls. Whoop-de-doo, Drake, you you stole my girl and flew her out to Albuquerque for a weekend getaway. Do you know any other tricks?
Leave my hoes alone!
This whole dynamic between Drake and Kendrick has been brewing for some years, and Drake has been dissing a lot of people. But Kendrick is in there. Drake has been dissing a lot of these guys for years. Truth be told, Drake will send a subliminal shot your way for seemingly almost no reason. Maybe based on just the way that you sneezed that one time and you weren't quick enough. But in the grand scheme of things, Like That was the record that really pushed the first domino and started the chain reaction of what we would see. Drake responded with the song Push Ups, where he kind of took shots at everybody, but you know, Kendrick especially, saying that a lot of his money was going to Top Dog from TDE, and saying that he got a bad split on his contract, essentially saying that the man was getting robbed, and also that he was short. Can't forget that part. Now f that shit, all my short kings stand up. Drake then followed up Push Ups with the song called Tailor Made Freestyle featuring Tupac and Snoop Dogg, who is still alive, by the way. I don't know if he would have co-signed for this. You know, I don't know if he spoke on it yet. And now we've reached the mind games territory of the rap beef, with Drake basically essentially trying to goad Kendrick into dropping a swift heat of the crime diss track in response to him kind of using Tupac and Snoop Dogg, who are two West Coast legends, and basically using them to get inside Kendrick Lamar's head and basically tell him he's a bitch. And funnily enough, another thing to come out of this rap beef, which is probably like a C plot or D plot at this point, but the Tupac estate did not feel comfortable with having their boy out there being misrepresented on this rap beef, you know, being AI morphed to say things he would probably never say. But after these two songs, Kendrick would drop the song Euphoria, which is probably my favorite song to come out of this entire thing. I know a lot of people like the last song to come out of this from Kendrick's side, which is Not Like Us, but Euphoria, just gonna say it, that shit bops. And in the song Euphoria, which people are still breaking down to this day, Kendrick would basically call Drake out on a lot of his past hypocrisies and essentially called him a liar, an actor, and a manipulator. The narrative surrounding this record at the time when it first came out was that it was a good song, like sonically and sounding wise, but it didn't really punch in the beef because he was just naming things that people already, I guess, knew about Drake. But in my opinion, that kind of makes the punches hit a little harder, because because Kendrick doesn't really have to dig for damning evidence on Drake's character. But aside from some jabs at Drake's character and admitting that he doesn't even like the guy, this was a pretty tame diss track, which has been the whole tone of the beef up until this point. Euphoria is the point of no return, the crossroads in this beef, where shit was about to get way more serious and way more allegations and accusations would be flown in each direction. And I'm genuinely starting to believe that this is the level of beef that Drake didn't really want to get to with Pusha T. Like, you could consider everything up to this point just fun and games, and it's just two artists trying their best to make a catchy song for the streets while also trying their best to make the opposing guy look like a laughingstock. When we think back to songs like Back to Back, it wasn't really any scathing criticism or like reveal into Meek Mill like we saw later with The Story of Adidon. In hindsight, Back to Back was just like a really fun song that made fun of Meek Mill with some witty one-liners. Like, at the end of the day, it was just a catchy song. But this new level of rap beef where we're hearing like new T or whatever, I feel like we can accredit this to Pusha T. Like, although he won that beef, I think that was really the first time we've ever seen a rap beef on a public scale really go to that level where like some new information is being revealed to the public. And I believe that that did irreparable damage to Drake and his perception. Damage that he's still trying to repair today by shoving his son in our face on his like last album or something. So after some time with Euphoria going absolutely crazy, Drake responds with the song Family Matters, which is like a three-parter, and for a good 20 minutes, in my opinion, this was a good jab back at Euphoria. It definitely didn't bop as much as Euphoria did, but Drake was doing what he had to do, if you know what I mean. And we would see him just starting to dip his toe into some of that petty beef by basically starting the first accusation saying that Kendrick is his wife or he's some sort of domestic abuser. He also crushed the Mad City van in this music video. I don't even know if I can show that on camera, but I thought that was very petty and very funny. But sadly, Drake's victory lap was very short-lived because within the hour, Kendrick would respond with a song called Meet the Grams. And while Drake was just starting to test the waters on the petty beef and the reveals, Kendrick was dipping the whole enchilada in the water. Just picture that for a second. Kendrick writes from the perspective of a lot of the close people in Drake's life. Or sorry, he's writing the song to them, kind of like bypassing Drake in a way. He starts it off by addressing the song to Drake's son, which is absolutely crazy. My jaw dropped my first time hearing this song because I'm like, how are you gonna talk to the nigga's son? But I guess after Drake lobbed that accusation at the end of Family Matters, Kendrick considered it gloves off, you know what I'm saying? So anything went at that moment. But in Meet the Grams, he kind of does this like tactical takedown of Drake, exposing his worst attributes directly to the people in his life that he has an influence on or that have influenced him, like his alleged daughter or something. I don't even know if that's still a real thing. Apparently there was mind games going on. We'll get to that. But the release of this song completely overshadowed Family Matters, which was, you know, just a jab back. Drake was not expecting this maniac, this insane man to drop on the same day as him. Nevertheless, within the hour. Kendrick then followed up, same day, motherfucker's insane, with the song 616 in LA. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of my least favorite songs to come from this. And it's not like it's a bad song per se, but in terms of replay value, it kind of works as like the second punch in the 1-2 combo that is Meet the Grams and 616. And it's really just more of Kendrick doubling down, but he does call out academics for being very biased. So me and him are on the same page with that, I guess. But definitely in the grand scheme of things, I think this is probably one of the least memorable songs here. That's probably not saying much considering that these are two talented artists, despite what you might say about them or you believe that they have done after this whole conflict. But nevertheless, we'll continue. Because Kendrick would drop another diss song called Not Like Us, which is a West Coast banger produced by DJ Dijon himself. And this is kind of like the back-to-back of this entire Kendrick and Drake cinematic universe because it really does do all of the things that back-to-back did. But I think a blow like this could only be delivered after Kendrick had overshadowed Drake completely, because this song is absolutely tearing through the charts. Personally, I like Euphoria better, but this song is a good song, like just on its own. You know, it kind of just stands as its own work of art, but it also has jabs at Drake in there and it's charting, which is insane, right? But on this song, Kendrick would not only reinforce the points that he made earlier, like a goddamn 5-paragraph essay, but he would also double down on the theory and suspicion that Drake is a secret Diddy. And he brought up the fact that Drake has some people in his camp that are a little suspicious. And after this song, a lot of people kind of considered the beef over, okay? We heard the good songs, we heard all the allegations. Kendrick had basically won over all of the public perception. But Drake responded with another song called The Heart Part 6 because Kendrick was on The Heart Part 5. He has like a series called The Heart. He's on Part 5. Drake dropped Part 6, so Kendrick couldn't drop Part 6 essentially. And in my opinion, I also think this is where Drake lost a lot of the public perception. And I think it's solely based on the fact that this felt like more of a defensive track. Like the beat is more subdued and Drake spends a lot of time kind of like defending himself from what Kendrick had said instead of making his own points, which was probably part of Kendrick's strategy because he wanted to make sure that what he said in his song was something that Drake would have to respond to and kind of go on the defensive for. But Drake spends a lot of this song kind of refuting the claims that Kendrick made about him, especially the part about liking minors, no Minecraft. And for a lot of people, this kind of made him look worse to them because his rebuttal was, if I was really a P. Diddy, then I would be in jail, which is not a good defense at all. Like P. Diddy isn't even in jail, okay? And we basically know he's out here on some wild behavior.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
This is literally the defense of, if I'm a liar, why aren't my pants on fire right now? And Drake also claims or admits that he had fed misinformation to Kendrick Lamar somehow through the people on his team, basically trying to get Kendrick to say things that are untrue about him. Like allegedly the daughter that Kendrick said Drake had is not a real daughter and he had planted that. But I think that just helps Kendrick Lamar's narrative better at the end of the day because he's trying to paint Drake out as a manipulator and a liar. And here Drake is basically admitting that he manipulated and lied in order to get ahead in this beef in some way. Like the guy is saying you're a master manipulator and your response is to manipulate the people around you into believing something so they, you know, it's just, you're trying to manipulate the whole situation. Whereas Kendrick really hasn't used any underhanded tactics. It admitted that he just doesn't like the guy, which leads into the whole list of reasons why I personally believe that Kendrick won this beef, at least optically. Was one, he rapped better and more than Drake by releasing like a shit ton of songs, also leading to him overshadowing Drake's releases in terms of content, but also in streaming numbers. And third, his allegations against Drake and the narrative that he is painting of Drake, even if they're not exactly true, at least to the public eye, they align closer to what is the obvious and undeniable reality of the situation. You know, at least to compare to what Drake was saying about Kendrick and what's going on in his personal life. Like if we really just want to go down the list here, which I didn't want to do, believe me, it is true that Drake did text Millie Bobby Brown and Billie Eilish when they were underage.
Great role model, you know, we just texted each other the other day and he was like, I miss you so much. I was like, I miss you more. He's coming to Atlanta, so I'm definitely gonna go and see him.
What advice does he give you? Like, what does he say?
About boys, he helps me.
What?
Yeah, he's great. He's wonderful, I love him.
What's his advice with boys?
You know, that stays in the text messages.
I have Drake's phone number. Drake is like the nicest dude I've ever spoken to. I mean, I've only like texted him.
How have you got close to Drake?
It's insane. You think he's like Drake, like, but like, no, he's just a great person.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop!
Drake himself said that he used to date SZA back in 2008 on his own admission, back when she was just a teenager. It's unclear because he said he used to date her back in 2008, but in 2008, she would have just turned 18 and her birthday is in November, meaning that there was only 2 months out of the year 2008 that Drake could have legally dated SZA. More like a month and like 10 days. And Drake also did kiss a 17-year-old girl on stage at one of his concerts earlier in his career.
Alright. had fun. I like the way your breasts feel against my chest.
Really, nigga?
The fact of the matter is there is evidence out there in the world that people can point to say that what Kendrick is saying about Drake is true. And a lot of people do feel that way about Drake after this whole thing. And after all this, I'm kind of beefed out, okay? Out of my mind. I've seen enough reaction videos. I don't want to hear the next Chris Brown and Quavo beef song. I'm sorry. Rick Ross, keep your neck in the tank, please. I just want to get back to peace and love, like my man J. Cole. And you know, thinking back to it, okay, maybe I was a little unfair to J. Cole, all right? Because J. Cole might have actually been the smartest person in this entire debacle. And he probably made the safest decision out of anybody here. Not the best decision, but definitely the safest, considering how ugly this was turning out for some of the people involved. It's really unfortunate that we had to lose J. Cole to get up to this point, but I will accept him as the sacrifice, RIP. He was literally the guy screaming for peace and love in the middle of what would turn into a battlefield. So I'm sorry, J. Cole fans, okay? I'm one of you guys. I love J. Cole. But that's pretty much all we're gonna cover today, guys. Hopefully these guys do not drop any more diss tracks, please, for a while. But for the ones we do have, what do you guys think? Where do you rank all of the diss tracks that we've seen so far? What is your diss track tier list? Is Push-Ups high up there on the list? Or do you think Kendrick fumbled the bag in some way? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know down below in those comments. And if you've reached this far in the video, consider leaving a like or even subscribing to the B+ channel for more goated content. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.